Oh, good morning. Good morning. I know I'm like running late this morning. Um, it's an ADHD morning. What I mean by that is while I'm trying to get going, and what do we do when we're feeling sad? While I'm trying to get going, what do I do when we're feeling sad? What I do when I'm trying to get going is I find a million other things to distract myself with. um, I don't even know if I can list out all the things that I was trying to get accomplished this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Nice to see you. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm trying to do a few more of good morning, good morning, good morning to you, my friend. I mean, literally the second I said good morning, here's Phoebe the cat. She's like, I'm in on this. I'm a part of this. Hold on just a second. I'm just getting set up. This is my ADHD morning. Um, Thanks. Yeah, I'm trying. It can be pretty frustrating though. So I get going in the morning and brushing my teeth and shaving and doing these things. I'm like, oh, my kitchen's a mess. I'm gonna clean that up a little bit. Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. You'd laugh if I tried to come up with a list of everything I tried to do this morning and didn't complete, but kind of all over the place. Yeah, Phoebe. Here's Phoebes. Say hello. She's like, whatever. I just want to be in your lap. I just want to be hanging out. Um, I was actually doing some martial arts training this morning, and I was like, oh, I can't do this. I've got to, make my coffee and get ready. I was train. This may sound weird, but I was training with an axe this morning. It's been a while. It's been a long time, and I'm like, I gotta get more active. Yeah, that's funny. We call her Phoebes too. The girls call her Farb, and I have no idea why. Farb. That's such a weird name, but we call her Phoebes. I call her Phoebes anyway. Um, but she's like right up in my grill at the moment. Uh, but it's funny. So I was doing all kinds of stuff, but I'm sort of like, I gotta get back in shape, and I got to do some exercise this morning. So I thought I would do some martial arts training. It's been a while. I used to teach. I haven't taught in a while, but I used to teach jujitsu, and that's actually my teaching. Is that my teaching? Yeah, That's called a menkyo. Menkyo is a teaching license in Japanese. So um, anyway, I hope everybody's doing well on this Tuesday morning. I'm doing pretty well on this Tuesday morning. The weekend was kind of a a weird one for me, and yesterday yesterday was weird. But I'm going to try to do some more lives, particularly this week. Next week, I anticipate being I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So my one daughter is moving into college Sunday, and then the other one is moving into college the following Friday. And I anticipate chaos, not only from a physical perspective, but also from an emotional perspective. So I don't come like I don't think it's a bad thing for me to be emotional. Let me just say that up front. Like, I'm a very emotional person. I cry very easily. I laugh very easily, as you can tell. But I don't want to. I don't want to come on here and dump that on people. I want people to come and have a positive experience from this. And but I did, I talk about my emotions because I think being human is really important. And people who pretend like they aren't human or that they don't have human emotions or whatever, I don't think that's a particularly healthy um, example. Some comments in this live have been filtered, but I can't see them. So if your comments have been filtered, I'm sorry. I don't know why that. I don't know what you said or what's occurred. TikTok in particular censors like the weirdest things. Somebody's like, "Hey, how's it going?" Oh, that's been filtered. For what reason? I don't understand that. And so I do try to, when I can, I try to read them. And if they're not somebody just being like hateful or crazy, then I'll let them through. So anyway, that's what's going on with me. I hope everybody's having a good beginning of your week. It's Tuesday. Week's just started. It's been in Maine. We've been getting. It's just been overcast, but part of that is the wildfires that are going on in Canada right now. We're getting the smoke from that. Oh, nice to see you as well. Good morning to you. Phoebe says good morning too. She's like, pat me. Stop talking to these people and pat me. Um, Part of the reason why I lift her up and show her to people is that she's very cute. But the other reason is like I realize I'm doing weird things with my hands below the desk, or could look like that. And I don't want anybody to think I'm doing anything too weird over here. Weird's fine, but there's certain types of weird that aren't great. Um, and Kira says hi to Brienne as well. Do you guys know each other, or just from here? Um, So anyway, oh gosh, she's making my nose itch this morning. I need to take some allergy medication this morning. So anyway, our air quality has been really bad here in Maine, because we're getting so much of the smoke from the wildfires in Canada right now. So, but I do think it's cool if people who know each other are coming on here. So, um, oh, just on here. Okay, okay, but that's still cool. That's still pretty awesome. You're allowed to make friends online. I make a lot of friends online. I don't get out much, so especially not anymore. Brienne, I actually know what they say IRL, in real life. Known each other for years, and our daughters went to school together, graduated from school together. I owe her some sushi, so um, maybe if we get together for that cocktail, I'll provide some sushi as well. How's that for an incentive? Um, So anyway, gosh, yeah, sorry, I'm allergic. It's not usually this bad, but the air quality in Maine is really bad right now. It's the smoke from the wildfires coming through, as I said. So what am I talking about this morning? I'm talking about cleansing your energy field, cleansing your the various layers of your energy field. I'm going to give hopefully some practical tips. Talk about why we would want to, why do we care about that? Why we would want to do that? Um, Prayers for your orphanage in Kenya. Yeah, certainly. Prayers for your orphanage in Kenya. I'm sorry that you are lacking food and shelter, so, and clothing. Oh, you're in Australia. It's interesting. I do have. I have. I've had a student in Australia and clients in Australia, and I have a number of people who tune into these lives that are from Australia. So I feel like I've never been to Australia. I would love to go. Um, I'd love to go teach there someday. I have a dream. I have a dream of opening a retreat business where I get to go to really cool places and lead classes there. That's my dream. I'm going to put that out into the universe. I'm going to manifest that happening. I have invitations from Indonesia. I would love to go to. I'd love to go to Australia. I'd love to go to New Zealand. I'd love to go to Fiji. Love to go to Bali. Love to go. The British Isles. Cool, cool. Yeah, yeah. It's on the list. It's definitely on the list. I'm going to manifest it. I'm going to put it out in the universe. So. I'm going to talk about cleansing. Particularly, we're going to focus on the energy field or the energy body. So I'll explain a little bit about what that is. So, as a human being, one model. Oh, good morning to you as well. Good morning. Gosh, is it Kylie? Kylie, I think. I try not to. I do my best to pronounce people's names, but could absolutely be misreading them, and my apologies if I am. So let's talk about the energy body. We'll talk about what it is, why we would want to worry about cleansing it, and what I call spiritual hygiene. Right? It's like brushing your teeth, washing your face, taking a shower, all of those things. But that's for your physical body. So one model that I think works, and all models are fake. All models are models. They're just the representations of what reality is, right? If I have a model car, I'm not going to climb in that and drive off in it because it's too small and it doesn't have an engine and et cetera, right? Oh, Kaylee. Okay. Yes. Sorry, Kaylee. Thank you for that. Thank you for correcting. I have no problem with anybody correcting my pronunciation of their name. It's a big thing for me that I want to, as best I can, pronounce people's names correctly. I had a challenge. I went to grad school with a guy from Africa. I'm trying to remember what country he was from. Namibia. I think it was from Namibia. And I know I'm not pronouncing his name correctly because my mouth can't make the shape. I've tried really hard, but it's Ndumba, spelled Ndumba, Ndumba. But that's not even it. That's not that's not even right. But he wasn't like he would never try to correct me. Or I'm like, am I saying this right? I feel like I'm not saying it right. And then I would hear him say it, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm doing my best though. But it's the same. Like if someone from France calls me Jean, I know that they're talking to me. Or somebody from a Spanish speaking place calls me Juan. I would understand that as well. There's lots of great sort of Gaelic Celtic name equivalents of the name John, Owen, Ian, all of those things. There's a bunch. It was funny. Like I met with years and years ago. Went to Ireland and sat in on a lecture in Northern Ireland actually, and one of the speakers was from Sinn Féin, and his name was like the Gaelic equivalent of John Brown, but it sounded very. I don't even remember, but it sounded very exotic. But it literally meant John Brown in English. But it was like Owen something. But that was, and I met a woman there. I met a woman in Ireland named Kiva, but her name is spelled Caomhe, and she had a name tag on. She was working at a place, and somebody's like, "How do you think she pronounces her name?" And I looked at it. I was like, "Kaomi, Kao," and she's like, "It's Kiva." Like, oh, okay, sorry. Even though I have Irish and Scottish, a very a good part of my family is of Celtic origin. I do not have a knack for Gaelic or Scots, or actually Scots isn't even Gaelic. There's Scots Gaelic, but there's Scots, which is more of a Germanic language. But anyway, I digress. So, very distractible this morning. Very easily distractible this morning. So, one model, and again, all models are fake and they only represent things. Yeah, Irish spellings are cool, like Nev, Naomhe. I know that MHE makes the V sound. Now I know that, but I didn't know that back then. This was, oh gosh, 1999. So it was a long time ago. I have much more exposure to that stuff than I used to, because the internet is a thing. I mean, the internet was a thing then, but not nearly as much as it is now. I'd like to learn some Gaelic. That would be a cool thing. So anyway, so the energy body. So one of the ways that I think of, one of the models that I use to think about human beings is that we are like those Russian nesting dolls. We're layers and layers and layers, but those layers can occupy the same space and they can interpenetrate and interact. So it is very much not a perfect model. But you can think about, if you think about the human body, right? The human body is a complex system that is made up of other complex systems, right? We have a circulatory system and a musculoskeletal system, and the endocrine system is incredibly complex, right? And then you can get down to like cellular level and different types of cells and red blood cells. We say all cells have a nucleus except for red blood cells, and this and that and this and that. And the way that oxygen is exchanged through hemoglobin is really interesting. If you don't have enough carbon dioxide in your system, believe it or not, we think of carbon dioxide as a waste gas. If you don't have enough carbon dioxide in your system, you can actually suffocate because the hemoglobin won't let go of the oxygen. It'll cling to it. It requires some carbon dioxide there. So I've done some breath training that involves building carbon dioxide tolerance, which is very interesting because you do these weird breath holds, and then when you're done, you're like uh, you get almost a psychedelic reaction to it because all of a sudden your system is flooded with oxygen. The oxygen starts being stripped off your hemoglobin. So we have these complex systems. So that's one model. So there is a non-physical aspect to human beings, which is actually the bigger, more complex part of who we are. There is much more to our non-physical being than there is to our physical being. It's just that we are our most of our life experience is, and most of what's going on in our prefrontal cortex, most of what we're paying attention to are physical stimuli, right? Or our interpretations of physical stimuli. So there's large parts of us that we're unaware of. Like, even think about the unconscious mind. Like, how much stuff is in your unconscious mind right now? How much stuff is in your memory that you're not thinking about right now? Like, what color is your mailbox? What color is your refrigerator? Who is your third grade teacher? Um, all of those things are probably in there. You might have to think about them for a second. Um, you know, depending on if you have access to them or not. You can retrieve them, but they're there, and under hypnosis, you would definitely be able to remember all of that. Phoebe, why are you giving me love bites? She's like clinging to my arm and like, she's like not biting hard, but she's like gnawing on it. Um, she loves me. That's how cats show their love. It's not a hard bite. It's not, hey, what's going on? She's like looking at me with her big cat eyes. She's got like these big eyes. Anyway, um, you're adorable. I know. And attention seeking. So we have, and so another way of looking at human beings is this sort of bodies model, right? We have a physical body, which is the most gross layer of us, right? Gross meaning solids. This is made out of mostly matter. Even though, if you had equipment powerful enough to zoom in at the atomic level of your physical matter, you would be 99.99999 with seven nines behind it percent empty space, right? Your physical body is primarily empty space. Very, very little in there is actually material or, electrons, protons, neutrons, right? Very, very little in there, mostly empty space. But yet we experience this as a continuous piece of matter with no spaces in it. A very interesting meditation I've done for pain alleviation, where you focus, you don't focus, but you just become aware of an area where you have some pain, and then you become aware, you just intend to become aware of the space that surrounds and interpenetrates that area that has no sensation whatsoever because it's empty space. And then you just go back and forth and back and forth. And I've used this quite a lot with even with chronic pain, and it's worked out really well. You're going to walk through walls. When you get to the point where you can walk through walls, let me know how you did it. I am convinced that I have seen people do things that would be considered superhuman or miraculous by many. And I'm convinced that it's through the conscious manipulation of matter somewhat in that way. I've never seen somebody walk through a wall. Actually, no, I take that back. I have seen spiritual beings walk through walls, but not physical beings walk through walls. But I'm not saying it's not possible. I think in an infinite and expanding universe, anything is technically possible. Is it probable? I don't know. But if you can walk through walls, let me know. Don't hurt yourself, please. Um, but if you get to that point, let me know how you did it. That would be a really cool skill to have. I could keep like when it's cold in the winter, I could keep the doors closed and go outside to my car and not have to let any heat out. It would save me a bit of money. The energy conscious way of teleportation. I've read some interesting stuff about invisibility, not just like poof, I'm invisible. But like how like cloaking, government has been experimenting with cloaking devices on vehicles, but also in things that soldiers could wear that actually bend the light around, which you can kind of do with like lenses and stuff now, right? I've actually seen a Fresnel lens that somebody, you can buy them. You can go online and buy them right now that you can stand behind, and it will bend if you're in the right position. It'll bend the light around you and make anybody in front of that looking at you won't see you. It'll look like the wall behind you is there. um you can buy that stuff because light can be bent and manipulated and that sort of thing. I find that stuff fascinating, absolutely interesting. And why couldn't we do that with consciousness? Why couldn't we use consciousness to bend light or levitate or walk through walls or whatever? I just think we're not developed enough to do that yet, most people. But there are stories about saints doing things, saints flying through the air in Christianity and in other systems. I forget who it was, but there's stories of Saint Francis or somebody like actually flying through the air. I don't know. I wasn't there, but is it possible? I don't know. Probably. So we have this gross layer that we call the body, the physical body. As we move away from that physical body, not really, we have other bodies that are more subtle, right? The next more subtle body than the physical body is the energy body. The energy body is, you can think of as, if you know anything about, or if you can see auras, that is a part, the aura is the external part of the energy body that many people can pick up on and detect. But the energy body is very complex. This is what acupuncture works on. This is what Reiki works on. Any kind of energy healing. This is what Tai Chi and Qigong is meant to manipulate that. There are lots of other systems that work with the energy body. There were, certain forms of sound healing, certain forms of light healing, that sort of thing, are meant to work with the energy body. Now, the thing about the about the energy body is it is it is just one layer of subtleness removed from the physical body. So it is still it's still very close to the physical body. It still interacts with the physical body. You can move the energy body around by moving your physical body. That's why like Tai Chi, Qigong work, right? We can move the energy through our bodies. There are organs in the energy body that may or may not relate to the organs in our physical body. There are channels of energy, very complex stuff. Um, I don't think I have his book in front of me, but there's a great book called, I think it's called Energy Work or Energy Body Work, by the author Robert Bruce. Not Robert the Bruce, as in the Scottish king, but Robert Bruce. Hello, thank you for saying I'm a good teacher. I appreciate that. But thank you for joining this morning. But it's a really good book, and it is a very accessible guide to doing actual work with the energy body. And when I think about it, I do his exercises, but I've recommended his book quite a bit, and I've taught courses working with the energy body. Um, so anyway, I'm not going to go into the more subtle bodies today because I'm going to talk about particularly working with the energy body to clear the energy body field. So because our energy body interacts with our physical body, but it also interacts with the physical world and the non-physical aspect of the physical world. In shamanism, we would call that the middle world. The middle world is the world we live in, but it is the spiritual overlay to that. And right, it's where ghosts and fairies and a lot of those mythological beings interact with us. Not mythological in that they're not real, but these spiritual beings of renown and that sort of thing interact with us in the middle world. It's the spiritual overlay of the physical world. There are many worlds, maybe infinite worlds. And that, again, like that is a spiritual truth, but also science, physics are like, yeah, there may be infinite parallel universes out there. And shamans are like, tell me something I don't know, man. You know, um, yeah, you can come up with the math for it, but we were already out there like experimenting with this stuff and have been for tens of thousands of years. But I get it. Um, so this energy body, as we interact with the world, can pick up energy that isn't ours. We can get stuff stuck to it. It's like if I go outside and I walk through the mud, I get mud on my shoes. If I come into the house and I don't take my shoes off or I don't clean my shoes, I track mud around in my house. If I go out and I go to Walmart or some other big box store and I'm encountering lots of other people, and these people are throwing off angry energy or sad energy or anything like that, that can get stuck to me. It's not conscious energy. It's not like a possession. It's not like a spirit has come and possessed you. It's just energy that gunks up your system. In shamanism, we call these intrusions, and they can cause emotional issues. They can cause physical issues. I'll give you an example. I had a client some time ago who had we were working on something else, but when we got on, when I work with clients over Zoom, because I have clients all over the world, and this one was in Europe, and she's like, I have a frozen shoulder. I hurt my shoulder, and I can't move it at all. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll have a look. I'll see if there's anything at all I can do. And let me just say, if you have any sort of physical malady, get it checked out by a doctor first. Energy healing, shamanic healing, those things can be helpful adjuncts, but do not forego medical attention when you need it. But she had a frozen shoulder, and maybe she was going to see her doctor or whatever. I don't remember. But when I went in, I saw there was like this spiky black energy kind of stuck in her shoulder, and it was sort of like pinching off a nerve in her shoulder. So I did something called an extraction, which is just removing that energy for her. And after I did that, her shoulder was unfrozen. So it was predominantly caused by this energy body intrusion. Um, oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, it's just a word that we use. I mean, I'm sure there may be other terms for it in other spiritual systems, but it's meant to differentiate between like a what we'd call a possessing being. So you don't. It's not like and possession is not like you see in the movies. Like I have dealt with it numerous times. It's interesting because a lot of practitioners I know of personally will not work with somebody who's possessed. I think people get scared of it because they see the movies and stuff, and it's not like that. It's not like that usually. I've never run into a case that's anything like in the movies. Um, where a person's speaking in tongues and doing all of this stuff. I think predominantly people that have those symptoms have mental, some sort of exacerbated mental illness, some sort of psychotic break. And not to say that, people who are in psychosis aren't perceiving. This is a complex topic, but I think people in psychosis who have psychotic conditions like schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, I think that they are perceiving things in the spiritual world. I think that their brain is working in a way where they are open up to perceive all of this stuff, and it is overwhelming, right? Because they can't shut it down, and the brain is trying to make sense out of it. So the brain is making them see all these things, and then the brain is in this constant state of threat. So it has delusions about persecution or being attacked, or that sort of thing. And so I understand it, and I certainly have compassion for it. And I've worked with people with psychotic conditions, but I will always make sure that they're under the care of a doctor, a psychiatrist, and taking their meds, and that their therapist or psychiatrist knows that they're working with me. Sometimes people aren't willing to do that, and I don't. I feel for them, but I don't want to. I don't want to cause. It would be a bad thing if I worsened any problem for them, right? So anyway, energy body. We have this energy body. It can pick up intrusions. It can also be like the energy body. That's the main thing. That's the main problem that can happen in the energy body. The energy body is also subject to certain forms of psychic attack, and the biggest one I can think of is is what's called the evil eye. And you might say, well, the evil eye, that's not real or whatever. And I can tell you that it is very real for many, at least. I mean, it's real to me. I've experienced it, but it is real for many different cultures. And if you see something that is a reality, even a spiritual reality, for cultures that are not in contact with each other for at least thousands of years, that there is some, to me, that's important. To me, there is some phenomenon going on that is recognized in a similar way cross culturally. So, anyway, sorry, somebody sent me a message. I had to check it out. Um, so evil eye is a type of psychic attack that is the people, usually people who can do it. It is like an inherited trait. Some people are unaware that they're able to do this. It is an attack that is the reason it's called the evil eye is it's directed by the eyes, and it's usually backed by strong negative emotion like jealousy or anger or something like that. You can think of it as like Superman's laser beams shooting out of his eyes. It's a little bit like that, and it can burn a hole in your energy body. And what happens is that your energy body is part of your spiritual immune system. It's like the microbiome on your skin. Your skin, you have more bacteria on your skin, more cells of bacteria on your skin than you have cells in your body. And it's important. Like if you overuse antibacterial soap and stuff like that, you can kill off your microbiome, which is actually protecting you from harmful bacteria, right? So if somebody burns a hole in your protective layer, it can cause all kinds of problems. You're much more likely to have, you'll see things like people get sick. You'll see things like people having these huge runs of bad luck. Bad things start happening to people. It's a little bit different than a curse. A curse is like I'm going to send something to you that kind of sticks with you. This is a more like immediate attack, right? So a curse is like poisoning somebody slowly over time, and a evil eye type of attack is like shooting somebody. Sorry to be so violent or gross this morning. So anyway, but I'm not really going to talk about that too much this morning. I'm going to talk about cleansing your energy field. What can you do when you're out and about and you are running into other people's energy, or walking through spaces that feel gross? Because there's energy of spaces as well. There are places out there that make you feel really good when you stand there. There are places out there that make you feel really bad when you stand there, right? We are There's a really interesting thing. So the somebody did some research years ago. So all of these throughout Europe anyway, there were all these used to be all these pagan temples. And then mostly then when Christianity came through, they tore down the pagan temples and built big churches on top of them. But a lot of big churches and cathedrals and things like that were built upon as a show of domination by the Roman Church, which is very militaristic back in the day, uh, as a show of power. They tore down the icons, they got rid of the temples, and then built their own churches on top of these spaces. But people have gone through and done research on these spaces, these sacred spaces, these ancient pagan temples and stuff. And what they found is invariably they are built on top of land that underneath the land, and the only way to determine this today is to use equipment like ground penetrating radar, or bore holes in the ground or whatever, but they're built on top of spaces where there is a change in the land. So you'll have like bedrock, and then like a drop off, and then there's running water that comes through there underground. Invariably, in all of these pagan sacred sites, this is the case. And there's no way that we know of that. There was no technology back then for these people to know what's going on underground under these temples. However, with modern equipment, we can measure electromagnetic changes, that type of thing in the earth. The earth is very electromagnetic. There are all kinds of magnetic field. The earth has a magnetic field, but which is how compasses work and stuff. But there are changes in the magnetic field that can be measured with really sensitive equipment. And we can find that there's a great deal of electromagnetism in these sacred sites, which tells me and other people that the people back then were sensitive to it. Like they could feel it, and they were building the temples on top of these sites because they were having an effect on people. They were having an effect on the consciousness. We know that we can affect consciousness with electromagnetism these days. People didn't even know what electromagnetism was back then, right? For the most part, although there was uh, another interesting artifact from history. Look up the Baghdad battery. So in Mesopotamia, which is now in Iraq, um, Iraq, I guess is the right way to say it. They dug up these little jars, and when they looked at them, there were these two, various kinds of metal, and these two leads coming out of them, and they determined that they were filled with vinegar and acidic substance and whatever. And they're like, this would have held and just this would have had an electrical charge. Like, this is a battery, and it's like thousands of years old. So I think we're missing a lot of stuff. I think there's a lot of stuff we have not discovered yet. And there, it's also been said that the Great Pyramid, back when it was in its heyday, and it was clad, like the Great Pyramid used to have this side. It used to be white. It had this, right now you see the steps on the Great Pyramid, but it used to have smooth sides that had these white cladding stones. I don't know if they were marble or what they were, and then it was capped with solid gold. I don't even imagine how much gold they had that was used to cap the Great Pyramid. But if you look at the way it's built, you've got a conductive layer and an insulating layer, and then a space underneath that. And then again, there's water running underneath the Great Pyramid, um, very far underground. And there's granite, which as it's decomposing is giving off radioactivity. And there's some idea that the Great Pyramid, for whatever purpose it was built, some people are like, it's a tomb, it's this, it's that, it was an initiatory place. Who knows? We don't know. The Great Pyramid would have acted like a giant capacitor and would have discharged energy. We know that, if you read the plans of if you read the description of the Ark of the Covenant from the Bible, and if you were to construct a copy of that in the way that it was described, it would hold and discharge electricity. It would be an electrical capacitor, which is interesting because the stories in the Bible tell about carrying this thing into battle, and it giving off lightning and striking the enemies down, right? Which technically it would be able to do. There are also stories about the Ark of the Covenant. I think they're pretty interesting. When it was in Jerusalem, it was in the Holy of Holies. There was a tent called the Tabernacle that it was inside, and there was only one monk who was allowed. A monk, I guess it would be a priest. That monk wouldn't be the right term. Priest who was allowed to go into. Are you doing spiritual readings? I am not doing spiritual readings, and if I did, I wouldn't do them. I would offer them on TikTok because there are too many scams on TikTok of people offering spiritual readings. So I don't generally do readings for people, no. But thank you for asking. Appreciate it. And good morning to you. So anyway, the Ark of the Covenant was kept in this tent, in the Holy of Holies, and they were burning incense around it all the time. Some of that incense included cannabis, by the way. some of these guys were getting high, but they would have this one monk who would go in there once a year, and he would be tied to a rope. And the reason he was tied to the rope is sometimes these guys would get electrocuted, and they would have to pull their body out of the tent, because the to me the Ark of the Covenant was giving off uh, electricity. Why do you not do readings? It's just not something I do. I work with people in a different way, but I'm not a reader. Like, I don't do, like, I work with divinatory tools, but I do it in the context of doing healing sessions with people. Um, but it's never been my thing to like give people. I've done work for people. I've done divinatory work for like friends and stuff, but I don't like charge money and do divinatory readings like that. And there are other people out there who would be way better at that than I am. So, you could, you can find lots of people who are amazing, like tarot card readers and stuff out there. Um, that's just not me. It's just not, you go where your skills are. You do what you're good at. You do what you're good at, and you do what you love, and you'll find people who want. So this is that Japanese concept of ikigai. Live restricted for some audiences. For what? Um, I don't understand. I don't understand what TikTok just restricted my live for some reason, and I have no idea why. Restricted for some audiences. What am I talking about? I'm talking about people who do readings and things like that. Did I say something weird that could have been misconstrued? TikTok is so weird. Hi, good night to you. Yeah, so anyway, there's this Japanese concept of ikigai, right? It's three circles. It's what you're good at, what you love, and people what people want. And the area where that overlaps, that's your sweet spot, right? Um yeah, what do I thanks. Oh, my rune videos, yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed those. Yeah, I did a whole series of rune videos, like with the on YouTube, a whole series of, I think they're shorts. I think they're all short, so you can go through the whole Elder Futhark. I haven't used runes in a little while. I've been doing some cartomancy recently, but I have a cool. I think they're cool. I made them myself. Set of runes that are carved out of 5,000-year-old bog oak, and which is, you can buy pieces of bog. I have a bog oak wand. I think it's no, it's in the other room. I would show it, but it's in the other room. So I have a wand made out of 5,000-year-old oak and that sort of thing. Gotcha. From a book that is basically is do what you are. Yeah, do what you are. That's a good one. I like that. But there's a book on ikigai as well, but it's not a difficult concept. It's what you like to do, what you're good at, and what there is demand for, and there's a sweet spot. So, okay, back to energy body clearing. So I want to give people what I promised I would talk about here, and only have about 10 minutes left to speak to you today. So I'll give you some steps for energy clearing, and these are hygienic, what we call spiritual hygiene. And I'll give you a few of them, and you can take them or leave them, do what you want with them. Do all of them, do none of them. But I'll give you a few tools, some things that I would do. And often, one of the things that I do from time to time is I am called in to do what's called a space clearing. I'm called in to work in a home or a business, or I've done outdoor spaces as well, farms and things like that, where there is some sort of unpleasant spiritual activity happening, and the people want me to make the space better for them. And you run into all kinds of things there. Definitely lots of crazy energy in some spots. One of the craziest places I ever worked on is an inn, but in the 19th century, it was a brothel and for sailors. and there was a lot of violence there. There was a lot of a lot of really bad things going on there. Um, so it was a crazy space to work, and was haunted like crazy, like nobody's business. Like the new it had new owners when I got called in, and the new owners were like, "This is scaring off our workers. It's scaring off our guests." And so I did some work on there. But it was interesting because later after that, ugh, I've got it. Sorry, I've got an